Hello world of YouTube and welcome to another episode of ARC, the show where I get to be an asshole reviewing comics. And today, we're going to be doing something a little different. We're not going to be talking about a short story from a character that I love that feels really underwhelming, or a short story that was setting up certain things within a character's future. Instead, we're going to be talking about 3 different short stories involving 3 different characters that may set up things for character development, but don't really do things as far as furthering a story or anything like that. They almost feel like little asides between big adventures that at least explore topics or have interesting things in them. And the first we're going to be talking about is Cable, issue number 41 from 1997, written by Todd DeZago, and features Bishop as well, who is another future X-Men with similar powers to Gambit. He can kind of channel energy and redirect it. And this sees Cable and Bishop going down into the Pacific Ocean, going to Cable's time machine and stopping someone who has infiltrated its midst. And while not a whole lot happens, the whole story takes place inside of the time machine. There's at least some interesting combat and use of powers throughout the story, and I really enjoyed reading this. I like a lot of what it talks about with finding your place in the world, and in the realms of X-Men where time travel is a big thing. I like that it presents this antagonist in the form of Sincere, who feels out of place in this world. You know, he's seemingly a future a future villain who feels out of place now that he is more machine than man, and he's in the time machine to go to a time when he would fit in more. And I like this. Again, the stakes are big, because the time machine gets damaged and could easily destroy all of time and space, and obviously they win at the end of the day because it's your typical one-off comic. But I like Sincere's sort of actions near the end, and I like the questions it leaves for Cable by the end of the comic, because after they save the day, Bishop and Cable have this conversation in their jet where they talk about their present, the future, and the past, because they come from a dystopian future where things are bleak and everything from this time period is really stripped away, and Cable is there to stop it. That's Cable's whole shtick. He's kind of the Kyle Reese of the Marvel Universe. He's the son of Scott Summers, and he's trying to stop the apocalypse, basically. And by the end of this comic, he still feels like he's no closer to reaching that goal than he was before the comic. But after the events of this comic, dealing with time travel in his time machine, he feels like he's in a lower place. It feels more bleak by the end of it. And I don't mind that. And I like the conversation they have about what Bishop knows of this era during his era, which isn't much. And I like that at the end of the comic, Cable wants to learn more about the present, his family now. You know, he asks Storm about his sister. And I really like that. I think that it's a touching moment. And this is a nice little comic. This is a nice little read. I like the concept of Cable. I like the character of Cable. And I like Bishop because he's basically future Gambit, and that's cool. And I like the future stuff with X-Men. I think it's fascinating. I'm a big fan of time travel. And I think it's cool that they kind of took the time to write this little comic about that. And the next comic I'm going to be talking about is Nightwing number 25 from 1998. Written by Chuck Dixon, and it's just a training session. It's Nightwing and the current Robin just going through this obstacle course, these training grounds, blindfolded. And they have a lot of good conversations, and I just like the dialogue between both of the Robins. I like that they joke about Nightwing's exes and their time with Batman. amidst all of these crazy acrobatics where things still seemingly could go wrong at a moment's notice. And they even stop a crime along the way. This is just a really nicely written Robin comic. And as a guy who does enjoy Robin, I enjoy Nightwing, I enjoy that dynamic within the Batman comics. This was a fun read. It was a really fun comic that kind of peeled back some of the overly dramatic aspects seen within your typical Batman story. And I like that it's just two Robins stopping crime while also just shooting the shit, and Nightwing taking Robin under his wing to make him a better sidekick for Batman and just a better crime fighter in general. I like that he teaches him just a little bit in this comic, and I like that Robin grows, Nightwing kind of grows as well, and he kind of gets to be nostalgic because he gets to reminisce about his time as Nightwing and as Robin. And again, not a whole lot goes on in this comic as far as the stakes, but this is a fun little read, and I feel like if you enjoy Batman, or if you enjoy Robin or Nightwing in any capacity, and you haven't read this, you'll get a lot of fun out of this. It's just a fun, nice little comic. There's not really much going on, but that's kind of the point, and that's kind of why I liked it, and I wanted to talk about it on here, so I figured this would be the time to do so. It's really simple, really effective writing, and it's just a nice comic book. And the last, the coup de grace, if you will, the bigger piece of the three is Punisher War Journal number 29 and 30, published in 1991, and features a pairing of the Punisher and Ghost Rider. Now, I bought this while I was in Florida, which I picked these up. I picked this up at, I think, a Comic-Con, some convention, and I picked this up online when I was looking for Robin comics to read, some good Robin stories, and that one came highly recommended, and I'm also recommending it. But this issue I got in Florida when I was down visiting my dad, and I bought this later to complete the twosome when I was looking for the other part of this story. And it follows the Punisher trying to stop a drug ring because he's the Punisher. He punishes bad guys when he keeps crossing paths with Ghost Rider. And I like the interactions between Ghost Rider and Punisher in this and in the second comic. This is a nice read. This is a nice little read, and I like that it has two characters that seemingly go for the same goal, having these kind of altercations before coming together to stop a common threat, to meet the same ends that they are trying to find. I like Ghost Rider and I like Punisher. I think that they're two anti-heroes that I think are great. I love the goals of both. I like that they're both the extreme sides of justice, and they're kind of the end of the road for a vigilante, and I think that they're represented really well here. There's a lot of grit in the art style in this. There's a lot of bikers and riding motorcycle chases and gunshots. There's a lot of that in here, but I think it's illustrated very well. I like a lot of the bold contrast of the darkness with a lot of the bright flames when Ghost Rider comes into flame. I like the Ghost Rider a lot in this. I like his dialogue with the Punisher, especially in this issue. I like just how little bits of the Punisher's world are kind of revealed in here. Like, he has some nice conversations with Micro, who's kind of his Q or M in this universe, and I like that the Punisher just gets to do Punisher. Sometimes he just sits down and watches Looney Tunes, you know? But I like a lot of the little things in this comic. And again, this story doesn't feel like it sets up for much. It just feels like the Punisher and Ghost Rider seemingly teaming up to stop a drug bust. And I like it. I like the world it sets up. I like the drug stuff that's in here. I like that there's this kind of gang with initiations that Frank tries to get himself wrapped up into. I like that things don't seemingly go exactly as he would plan, and he kind of has to rely on Ghost Rider, even though the Ghost Rider is pretty firmly a solo act. And so is the Punisher, outside of a couple of cohorts like Micro in his life. He does a lot of the punishing on his own, and I like that this kind of shows that he needs a little help. He'll definitely need Ghost Rider to help him out in this, and I like their interactions in here. Again, a nice little read. If you like the Punisher, if you like Ghost Rider, you'll probably like this. It has a little bit of show-offiness for both. The Punisher isn't a huge component of this as far as his violence, but he gets to do his thing in some instances, and it's fun. It's a nice little read, and again, I think it's really good. These 2 issues were written by Mike Barron, and I think he does a good job at capturing the Punisher. Again, not as hyper-violent as some of the Punisher stuff gets to be, but I like that he's just still trying to seek justice and is willing to seek the help of somebody who doesn't necessarily work with anyone to do so, to meet an ends. And I like it. I like it a lot. But yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about this time on ARC. Again, still kind of figuring out the format for this show, still trying to figure out what I really want to do with it. But what do you think of it? What do you think of the show? Do you enjoy hearing me sit down and talk about comic books? Do you like the idea of covering a bunch of mini stories in one as well, amongst doing bigger arcs? The next one I'm doing, actually next month, is a bigger story involving one hero. Do you like the idea of breaking those up with these kind of a bunch of little stories together? Let me know in those comments down below. What do you think of these heroes? Do you like Punisher? Do you like Cable? Do you like Nightwing? Do you like Ghost Rider? Do you like X-Men in general? Who are some of your favorite comic book heroes? Let me know. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting here on Patreon. I want to give my patrons a special thank you. Their names will be in the credits after this outro. If you would like to join their ranks and help support the channel, it's linked in the description, my Patreon along with my socials. But I'm going to get out of here. I have been Viral Rack. You guys have good days, lives, and situations. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like the music, gaming, and general nerdery content that I bring. And I'll see you another day.